Good evening, good night, and good morning to everyone. This is update for June 23, 2022, day 120 of the war, end of the date update. So today we're going to start with Lithuania, which has been on their news headlines recently. So what happened is European Union decided to back out, and now it will allow for close to free flow of Russian supplies and goods through Lithuania to Kaliningrad region. So the source of tension for now, it looks like, has been removed. In related to EU news, European Union gave candidate status for admission to EU to Ukraine and neighboring country Moldova here. That's which is Transnistria is actually part of Moldova. Just an additional information there. In other news, Russian government is preparing groups of Russian teachers who will be sent to captured territories of Ukraine, and they will start teaching Ukrainian children Russian language, Russian history, basically all of the Russian courses that they teach in Russia. So that starts on September 1st, which is start of their educational year in the former Soviet Union. In another news, there's circulating on Twitter some message from so-called journalist in France who was saying that the Russian troops captured two self-propelled howitzers, Caesars, that France gave to Ukraine. So that's actually not true, and that person is really not a not independent journalist. He's actually working for Russia Today, so you understand their level of objectivity. So this was just kind of very primitive propaganda attempt that's you can kind of figure out very easily by yourself if you just look at the background of the person. And now let's move to walk through the front line, and we'll do it in a clockwise fashion as always, and we're going to start from the very north. So there is as always ongoing artillery fire along the state borders between the two countries. No changes there. Now let's move to Kharkiv region and see what's going on there. Situation is similar. Basically, there is a very low intensity fighting for this buffer along the border. Now let's move to the Izyum bridgehead. Situation here is more or less stable. There is significant Russian pressure at Kransopillya here and Dolyna. We just don't see it. It's like one big village. They stand next to each other, and also in Bogorodychne. So those were two main areas of intense fighting here. However, Ukrainian troops held the line. No changes there. Then now let's look at what's going on in Severodonetsk salient, because that's obviously the most dangerous situation for Ukrainian army here. So first of all, Ukrainian troops still holding on to the chemical plant in Severodonetsk. So essentially this is a Ukrainian bridgehead on the eastern side of Siversk-Lysychansk river. What we discussed yesterday, based on our information, that's exactly what happened. So Ukrainian troops withdrew from this peninsula here. So at this point, Russian troops captured all of these territories, Zolote, Kherson, all of this area. In addition, they also managed to capture village Mykolayivka, which was also kind of important stronghold for Ukrainian troops. So as you can see, this is new front line after retreat of Ukrainian troops from this nearly pocket. In our opinion, this was reasonable decision. There was not much you can do, and there, it's obviously not great, but it's better this way than being encircled there and creating a lot of problems for Ukrainian army. However, the situation, in our opinion, has not stabilized. Essentially, Ukrainian troops in this Severodonetsk salient, or whatever you call it, this corridor, are being supplied through this road that goes through Siversk. You see this Verkhnyo-Kamensk, and then it goes to Severodonetsk essentially, and Lysychansk, right? And then here to these troops on this southern section of the front line of this area. So what this really means, that is, you can see Russian troops are close enough that they can essentially to great extent block supplies to Ukrainian troops in this whole area around Severodonetsk. So the supply will become extremely difficult. It's already difficult in Severodonetsk just because there are no bridges. So now you're putting another hurdle in this area, because Russian troops will start shelling this road very actively, because at this point, if you look at the scale here, it's 5 kilometers. So it's about like probably 7 kilometers. So that really means that they can use pretty much all of the artillery that they have, which most of the artillery in Russian army is actually 122 millimeters, not 152. The same is true for Ukrainian army. This is actually this is inherited from the Soviet army. So the 122 howitzers, they can shoot as far as like 15 to 17 kilometers. So at this point, and given that Russian troops have almost unlimited supplies of shells, they can continuously shell it without just to create a logistical nightmare for Ukrainian troops. So for this reason, it does look to us that Ukrainian troops probably will be withdrawing from all of this area. That's sort of next logical step. So basically, they're going to evacuate this whole Lysychansk, Severodonetsk, this Verkhnyo-Kamenka area, and the front line is probably going to be going along this kind of like line from Bogorodychne to Berestove, somewhere around this line, or maybe like a little bit with including Spirne. So that's the most logical step. Russian command understands that too pretty well. So they actually they already gave a promise that they're gonna capture this whole area in 3 days. Remains to be seen if that's gonna happen or not. If Ukrainian command decides to sort of hold on and fight, it's totally possible. It's just going to be very difficult to supply, but it is doable in general. But eventually, we think that this area will be evacuated under Russian pressure sooner or later. The front line, there are actually several options for this front line here. So it could go this as a line from Bogorodychne around Verkhnyo-Kamensk, Spirne, and Berestove. The other option that could happen is actually due to geography here. Here's what's going on. This, like, if you look at this road, this line from Bakhmut to like north to the Siversk-Donetsk river, it's essentially kind of like a ridge here. So basically, it's the elevation is kind of low here. So this is kind of like one top of the hill, and then there's another top of a hill. So this is kind of like very low area between between the two kind of hills. And what this really means is that if you lose this line, defending here is going to be pretty hard, because Russian troops will be on the top of the hill and shooting down, and you're going to be nearly perfect target, because it's going to be extremely great visibility. I mean, it's still doable, because if Ukraine puts artillery on the other side, they can sort of shell Russian troops as they kind of descend down to this valley. Sorry, I actually was using the wrong word. So it's not a ridge, it's a valley here, essentially, right? So as Russian troops will be descending towards towards down this valley, they will be obviously shelled. They will be perfect target for Ukrainian artillery as well, because there will be a lot of sort of forward artillery observers and just generally UAVs. So this is another option, and the third option, that Ukrainian troops will be forced to withdraw as far as this line of the hills around here. So remains to be seen. We believe that the Ukrainian side will try to lose as little territory as possible, and probably for political reasons, the Ukrainian military will be forced to hold to this Lysychansk and Severodonetsk area for as long as possible. So we'll see how it all goes, but this is kind of options at this point that I think Ukrainian army is facing in this area. Now let's keep going. This is actually, we'll just kind of quickly give you sort of progression of how things were happening here. This was on 21st. You see the first Russian troops made progress at Mirna Dolyna, and we believe that this was already the reason they made this progress, as we discussed, because in the video on 21st, that there was very little Ukrainian resistance, so it was kind of pre-planned withdrawal of Ukrainian troops from this peninsula. So that's why they made such a quick progress here. Then they made another little bit more progress, and essentially now this is where the line goes here. Now let's go a little bit south in the southern section of the Popasna salient. So Russian troops are actively probing Ukrainian defenses, and the axis is that, well, objective is apparently to cut this road here, even though it doesn't lead to anywhere. But what they do, they do probing action towards Rubizhne here, this village here, and then next step is Zaitsevo, and then you kind of getting to this road. And then other direction is Kodyma, this village Kodyma here. So this is kind of like they trying in both directions. They tried today, they were not successful, so there is no progress today. Situation in Klinovo remains the same. Basically, Ukrainian troops are essentially squeezed out from the village, and they are kind of on outskirts, on the western and northwestern outskirts of this village. Now this is kind of, just another closer look. So basically, Russian troops now attempting to attack in this direction. This is Rubizhne here. It doesn't show on this map, but like along this kind of probably stream and lakes here. So towards Zaitsevo, and the other direction is this Kodyma. Here it's very straightforward. They just want to force withdrawal of Ukrainian troops from here, or actually create a pocket there. But given as we can see that Ukrainian command is not sort of letting pockets happen, obviously they will not allow these troops to sit in this area if let's say Russian troops get as far as Kodyma. But so far there is not enough sort of strength, and there are enough of Ukrainian troops, and actually very good quality Ukrainian troops in this area. Now let's look what's going on straight west of Donetsk. Here is everything is frozen, so to say, on hold. Just artillery shelling, low intensity skirmishes, nothing major. And the reason why is because as you can see, everything that can be pulled from this front line is being pulled by the Russian side. Probably something similar happens here, so that's why we put a question mark to 79. We believe that it's been completely pulled out from this area, and in general it suffered pretty heavy losses at this point. So we believe that this section of front line basically split between 54th and 25th brigades here. There is a little bit of action going on around Vuhledar here. So let's actually move to let's actually look from the Zaporizhzhia frontline section. That's going to be better. So now we're going to look at this Zaporizhzhia frontline section, and we're going to focus on the eastern section of it. So there was a couple of sort of simultaneous actions initiated by both sides. So Ukrainian reconnaissance groups tried to capture this village Shevchenko, which was kind of gray zone, and then kind of infiltrate to Yehorivka. We mentioned about that. So there was another attempt to effectively force Russian troops to leave Pavlivka. The attempt was not successful. They retreated basically to the area around this road at this point. Now let's actually move to the Russian side. So they actually tried to do something similar. They were probing Ukrainian defenses around Velinga Novosilka with its reconnaissance groups, because this is another sort of stronghold, one of their foundational pillars of their Ukrainian defenses on Zaporizhia front line. So let's just look at this. So this is, as you can see, this is kind of like this position is kind of preventing to great extent or creating a threat to further Russian advances towards north, because they can be attacked from the flank and essentially encircled. So for them, it's important to eliminate this position, and essentially what this means, capture this Velika Novosilka. So that's why they're doing this probing action. The logic behind Ukrainian actions around this Pavlivka and Shevchenkova and so on is to extent unclear to us, because Ukrainian army does not have enough sort of resources to attack right now here, especially since everything is being pulled to the Severodonetsk and Lysychansk area. So that's a little bit puzzling to us, let's put it this way. Now let's move west and let's look what's going on here on Kherson bridgehead. And the situation here is stable. Just artillery shelling, low intensity fighting, just skirmishes, reconnaissance actions, nothing, no meaningful changes. Everything is also frozen on hold here, similar to Zaporizhia front line, similar to situation west of Donetsk, and similar to situation east of Kharkiv. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and until tomorrow, bye bye.